So you decided to join the clerics. You like laser weapons, energy weapons, and all that crazy laser stuff. Maybe you are a fan of Ghost in the Shell or Akira, but that's totally irrelevant. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to be a best cleric in ELEX, and let's get started right away. So we'll go over melee combat and range combat, all the weapons, and I will also include the locations in this video, but there are many more weapons that you can use and many more items that you can combine and mix up. And if you want to look at other items that I'm not going to include here because it's going to be a ridiculously long video, there is a playlist of all the weapons that I found that are useful on my channel, and you should look at that after this video probably. So let's get started. First of all, I pressed Z here just to show you all the things that I have equipped on my bar. You don't have to equip it in that order. This is something that worked for me. I have a hammer here, I have a last stand, power wave, power shield. I think this is projection or phasing. One of these things is projection, one is phasing. I have mortal beam, redeemer, and one with a weapon, and just an energy drink here to replenish my energy if I needed to. So these are all the spells. Now let's go over what I do and why did I pick those spells. So we go here. One with a weapon is a really important spell, especially when you first join the clerics. You should get this and get a decent range weapon, probably some energy rifle, actually not energy but the plasma rifle, the one that can knock back enemies. So there are two that I will recommend, but let's move on once we get to the weapons. So this will give you plus 50 damage on range, and this is why in my opinion clerics kinda lean more towards being a range class, but they don't have to. They're really interesting as a melee class and kinda really fun to play as a melee class, but you do less damage as a cleric than you do as a berserker or as an outlaw if you're playing with melee weapons, so that's something to keep in mind. The next thing that you probably want to get, especially early on, is power shield, which will give you plus 20 armor and really help you to survive in the beginning. But later on, when you get more powerful armor, as you progress through ranks, well, you can buff it, but most of the time you will be able to survive without that buff. But in the beginning, super important. Those are two spells that you definitely have to get. Now let's move on to something, I guess, more fun. Actually, this spell is also really important. I almost forgot to talk about it, but either get power shield or the last stand first, but you will probably have enough skill points to get all three. So just save up before you join the clerics, so you have 3 points to spend right away. The last stand is insanely powerful ability. It will resurrect you, but not at half health, actually at full health. I think either the text is wrong here or it was coded wrong, but you will have full health, which is really good. So you can buff yourself with this, and once you get your health gets to 0, it will get back up to full, so it's insanely powerful. Those are the most important spells. Now let's move to something more, I guess, utility. I use this power wave because it's really interesting to do it. It's not required, but it's going to damage multiple enemies and knock them back, so it's really fun to just run into a couple of enemies, knock them back, and start hitting them with your hammer. And if maybe multiple enemies go towards you to attack you, you can use power wave to knock them back and just focus on one enemy. Well, that's one way to actually escape. The other way is to also use projection and phasing, which are going to create, which are going to distract enemies from attacking you, and basically this is going to teleport you to save this distance evading during combat, and it's going to leave a hologram of Jax. So these two things are going to basically draw away any attention from you, so you can really easily fight without getting hit. And that is why I think it's really fun to play as a melee cleric. Other things, I wouldn't say they're that impressive. These amplifiers are really fun, you can play that way, but then that's something like a mage. It looks like that, but they're not as powerful as ranged weapons or melee weapons in my opinion. But this black hole is ridiculous, so... But I didn't use this because I would need a bigger spell bar for this. I mean, all of the spells for clerics are really fun to play with, so just mix them up when you have enough skill points to learn everything. So definitely try everything, you will have fun with that. Let's talk about weapons now. I'm using two-hander. That's totally up to you if you're going to use one-hander or two-hander. I'm two-hander guy and I like two-handers. The only important thing to mention here is add energy damage, and that's all. And if this is confusing, you don't know how to add energy, I think I talk about how to add damage modifications in my beginner's guide on my channel, but really quickly you need to learn, well, that's in crafting. Modify weapons, and that's used to upgrade your weapon, and in clerics you need high-tech weaponsmith, so those two talents you need to upgrade your weapons, and the crafting bench of course. In terms of skill points, I dumped everything to 100, so I can't tell you put this or that. This is my play where I went to synthetic cold value and drink whole bunch of ELEX drinks. And ELEX drinks increase your attributes points and your learning points. So if you do not know what ELEX drinks are and how to craft them, I have a video for that on the channel. Just search for ELEX drinks, you'll find it. And there's a playlist where that video is in, and I will leave all those links below the video, so no worries there. Okay, let's look at the range weapons. The two range weapons that I recommend are Mortal Beam, Redeemer. You can also use Warbow 3. I wouldn't really say it's a bad thing. I would say that Mortal Beam is probably stronger, but if you're playing on normal, Warbow 3 with the buff for range will one-shot most of the stuff, so it's kind of really powerful. But if you're playing on Ultra, I think Mortal Beam is probably better choice, but we want to be a cleric, we want to be shooting lasers, not arrows. Okay, so the next thing, let's look at the armor. I'm using Elexitors, but you have to finish the game to actually get this armor and have synthetic cold value to actually get it, and you are going to be a bad guy if you go this route. I played all of the endings in my walkthroughs, and this character ended up being a bad guy. So that's what I'm wearing. And for the rings, I have a cleric ring, which will give you maximum energy, and I have a cleric amulet, which will give you the energy regeneration. This is the only item that gives any regeneration in this game, which is really powerful. And all of these items, I'm going to show you where they actually are. So that's another thing that we are going to do right after this. And after I show you all the locations, we are going to see how this spec works. So let's do that. And as promised, I will show you all the locations of the important stuff. First location is a converter where Alp separatists are, and the weapon that you should pick up is plasma rifle. It's on second floor. You take the elevator up and you will find it here. It's a pretty decent starting weapon, the requirements are pretty low and the damage is pretty solid, especially if you join clerics and have that range buff. So, also at this location you will find a separatist trader who will sell you natural ELEX and also has recipes for ELEX drinks. I just wanted to throw in that information here. Okay, the next location is pretty important. You will need lockpicking skills for this, so pick up the amulet for lockpicking and learn a bit of lockpicking, at least 1 point I think you will need. And go to this location and you can pick up the cleric's amulet. If you need that lockpicking amulet, look at my playlist with all the other locations, or simply spend more points into lockpicking. It's pretty useful skill to have. At least 2 points are really good. The third point you can supplement with the amulet. There are 3 or 4 amulets that give lockpicking skills, so yeah, no worries there. So open this chest here and you will find a cleric's amulet, probably one of the most important items that you should pick up. Of course, we wouldn't be clerics if we also didn't pick up a cleric ring. This one is really easy to pick up, it's right in cleric's city, so go to this location. Maybe you need to sneak if there are some guards or something like that, but I don't think it's hard to get into this room. And this will give you plus 20 mental energy and it's awesome. Next item is my favorite range weapon, the Redeemer, and you can find it at the converter. And be sure to speak to Alp Separatist leader to learn how to shut down converters. If you do not know how to do that, you won't be able to get to this location. So you have to climb to the top of the converter and shut it down, then climb up a bit more to get to this location on top of the converter. And once you're there, you will get this awesome weapon. And the last weapon that we're going to get is the Mortal Beam. You can find it in Ignodan. I'm showing you the location here, and this is from actually one of my older videos. And I'm pointing out that there are some mines and enemies here, so watch out on your way to not step into the mines. Look at the floor first, and you will get to here. There's some troll that's going to guard this, or was it a cyclops? I don't remember, but it's going to be guarded by a big enemy. You can run in and pick it up, or you can kill everything and get this awesome weapon. Okay, let's start with a demonstration. First of all, we are going to do the ranged weapons because that is something that you're going to use first. I have the Mortal Beam here, which is really good. Let's try it on a troll on full auto. Okay, so those are 2 clips. I wouldn't recommend this on smaller enemies. Probably wanna go with burst fire. You can also use one shot, but that's kinda not that efficient. One shot does most of the damage. I mean, it's the strongest laser bullet, or however you wanna call it. But the burst mode is somewhat in between, it's really cool. And the full auto, while you pump out lots of lasers, it doesn't do as much damage per laser, but per clip I think it pumps out most of the damage. But it's really hard to aim, it's going to pull up really fast. And I think The best mode is the burst mode. Let's look at the next weapon. This is Redeemer, and it's my favorite weapon. It's going to do knockback damage, and we should buff ourselves, definitely. So the first mode is just going to do the damage. The second mode is for mechanical enemies. If I find some mechanical enemies, I will show you. I think there should be some Albs here. Alb fighting machine. Yes, I moved away from them so I can demonstrate this. This is going to basically disable the machines. So probably most OP weapon against fighting Colossals. Okay, now that is all when it comes to ranged weapon. Just buff yourselves with a weapon and go crazy with either... I would recommend Redeemer first over the Mortal Beam, but Mortal Beam is also really cool. Now let's look at being a melee cleric. So here you want to buff yourself with the last stand, with everything, maybe even drink some well, not ELEX drink, but energy drink, and let's go crazy. So enemies. Oh yeah, we have a troll there. So let's look at this. As you can see, I'm leaving projections, and they're being attacked instead of me. Actually, he threw the rock because there wasn't a projection before that. I actually wanna get hit now, but there are no bigger enemies here. Maybe if we pull that raptor from there. Nah, that's not going to work. We'll have to teleport to some other location to demonstrate last stand. I think we are going to go to Wally. That's the best location for that, I think. Lots of enemies.
Probability of survival low.
Okay, so let's pull everything. And just look at this. Well, if something actually hits me. Why did I dodge? Come on. That was last stand. And I can buff myself again, and I'm invisible. And Power Wave knocks them a bit, which is awesome. He's going to go for that projection now. I can leave a whole bunch of projections, confuse them. I have enough for a second Power Wave, knock back those guys. Well, that was careless of me. There we go. Maybe we have some more enemies there. If you're playing in the beginning, maybe stick to the ranged weapons, but to me, I'm having most fun as a melee cleric, actually. So I really like to buff myself, do the power wave and all that good stuff. I also want to show you one trick as soon as this combat is over. So you will find yourself in finishing combat and being really low on health, and sometimes you will have your last stand still on you. Well, pull out Redeemer and shoot at your feet. And that way, hopefully you won't kill yourself if last stand runs out, but just watch for that. If you have last stand, just hit yourself a few times. And that way you do not need food or potions for health, you just need energy drinks and you will be fine. So guys, this is all for this video. I really hope that you're having fun being a cleric. I sure did in my walkthroughs. And if you wanna try out the other factions, there are other guides on my channel. And I really hope to see you on the next video.